Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock of the Emerald Planet and Emerald Planet TV. We come to you on a week-to-week basis from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technology, services, and products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we have a planet of 9 billion people by 2038 and possibly 12 to 13 billion by the end of this century, how are we going to be able to take care of all these people on planet Earth? And that's what Emerald Planet's all about. We come to you looking at the solutions, the best practices from around the globe as we create the Emerald Planet. Hello, welcome to the Emerald Planet. We're making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And seeing the long-term impacts of climate change. We're glad to have you. Thank you for being with us.
Looking at the world of food and also every living being on the planet, everyone needs to exist to have nourishment, and it takes bees to do that. And most of us don't really realize what a busy bee is all about until you start learning about the importance of bees as pollinators and taking care of all living beings on the earth, because we're all connected. And we have someone who's a true expert is going to be talking about this. This is Kimberly Mehalick. She is president of the Maryland State Beekeepers Association. And we're going to be talking about the importance of honeybees and the challenges of urbanizing societies. And Kim, welcome to the Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, I'm looking at this logo that you have, and the beehives that we're going to be showing everyone through this program really don't look like this. So tell us a little bit about the Beekeepers Association, its importance, but also the metamorphosis from this beehive unto where we are today.
Well, first we'll start with the beehive that you're looking at. That is a skep, spelled S-K-E-P, and they're woven from grasses, and that was the traditional way of keeping bees through the early years until Lorenzo Langstroth came up with a removable frame hive. And that's when you started with the square boxes or rectangular boxes that you're more used to seeing today. That skep was a wonderful thing for beekeepers, but not nice to the bees, because the only way you could get the honey out was by killing all the bees in the skep. So they would kill them, and then they would take out all of the honeycomb that was within it. It wasn't a reusable hive frame. So that's a skep. It's historical, and the background is the red state of Maryland, of course.
Right. Now, looking at your association, tell us why it's so important, and then we want to move right into the slides, because you have wonderful images of what it is that you're doing and how you're doing it. So let's talk about the association, and then we're going to move forward.
Okay. Maryland State Beekeepers Association was founded in 1908. It was started with the express purpose of training, teaching, and education of beekeepers and continuing education of beekeepers, and maintaining a presence in order to influence legislators to make sure that we were advocating appropriately for honeybee keepers in the state.
Yeah.
So that is our goal, and that's what we strive to do at all times.
That's absolutely fantastic. Looking at the bees, it's amazing how small they are, and yet how wonderfully important they are as far as, you know, life on Earth. I mean, it's we're not really exaggerating the importance of bees. So why is the bee so important?
The bee provides several benefits for humans. One of the most important is its ability to do pollination services. So that pollination allows us to have the fruits and vegetables that we eat today. So I'll give an example. A cucumber needs 8 to 10 visits from a honeybee or other pollinator, and for the most part it's honeybees, in order to make a cucumber. So
Amazing.
that's 8 to 10 visits from individual bees in order to pollinate for a single cucumber. And we can't get that kind of pollination service from anything other than bees. They have found that bees do literally increase the profitability for farmers on the order of threefold if they have good pollinators present for them. So that would be your apples, your cherries, your pear trees. And they've tried replacing bees with humans in China, and they're not as effective. The bees do a better job.
Now,
So,
looking at the queen, why is the queen so important? And
the queen,
why do they protect the queen so, completely?
They have to protect the queen. The queen is the center of the colony or collection of bees in that hive. The queen is the only means by which reproduction occurs. So that queen is laying between 1,500 and 2,000 eggs a day during brood rearing season. And that provides all of the workers of that beehive or that bee colony. So she's really important. And you'll notice in the picture that you're looking at, the bees are all surrounding her. That's her retinue. Those are the bees that provide for her. They feed her, they clean her, they groom her, they keep her happy. She is simply there to be an egg-laying machine. And she will lay eggs for the duration of her lifespan.
Yeah, it's just amazing, just the native intelligence of all the living beings on Earth. And we're really not sure how they do all that. But looking at the pollination process, this is a beautiful image. Tell us what's actually happening here, Kim.
That is an image that is of a bee on a cherry tree in Washington, D.C., actually. And it is, the bee goes from plant to plant. It collects nectar because it needs the nectar in order to survive. That provides the carbohydrate food source for the hive. So it'll suck up nectar from the bottom of the blooms. But it will also collect pollen from the anthers. So the yellow anthers sticking out at the top of a plant. The honeybee is surrounded, or covered, I should say, instead of surrounded, is covered with plumerose hairs. And these hairs actually are static, so that the pollen is attracted by static energy onto the bee. So they're collecting pollen, they are taking the nectar, and by going for the nectar, they're then providing that pollen to the next flower as they go from flower to flower. So this is how honeybees work, and other bees also work. Remember, we have 12,000 different bees in the United States, so that's an important number. In the state of Maryland alone, we have 489 species that have been documented.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. Looking at the hives that we have here, this is going to this new box form so that you can, we'll show how you extract the honey and allow the bees to continue. But why the various settings for the hives? Because this is in a very natural setting. It's very beautiful. What are we looking at, and how do we need to read this as what the bee sees?
What the bee sees is, in this particular picture, a water source, which is the pond directly behind. They need to have a water source, but that could be a dish with rocks in it. The bees need to see a lot of forage. So in this case, it's surrounded by hardwood forest, which in Maryland has a lot of black locust trees, tulip poplar trees, American holly, which is really a favorite source for us here. And we're lucky enough to have two tupelo trees in this area. And tupelo trees make delicious honey. So, by the way, the bees don't care if they're in a beautiful location like this, and this is one of my favorite outyards, and I'll admit it, because it's just gorgeous, or if they're on a rooftop, or if they're on your back deck.
Could
The
be
bees
anywhere.
care what kind of forage is available. They can be anywhere. This is a backyard beekeeper, and you'll notice different sized boxes because there's different sized colonies. So an established colony with a queen that has been around for more than a year has multiple boxes. So you'll notice the blue boxes on the bottom with the purpley pink on top. That means that particular hive is collecting honey for human consumption because the hive is much larger than it needs to be just for the bees themselves. The smaller hive right next to it, which is yellow on the bottom with white on top, is what's called a nucleus colony. And that is a small new colony made with a brand new queen this year. And that allows us to perpetuate a line of good queens. And it allows us to keep our apiaries safe over the year as we fight through all of the obstacles within beekeeping.
Yeah, and there's a lot.
This is a backyard beekeeper.
So looking at the honeycomb and the honey itself, you're talking about this was an invention. And so it's a way that you can actually extract the honey. Tell us how this actually works.
The picture that you're looking at there is cut comb honey. That's very special honey. Cut comb honey is honey that does not have any foundation or frame wiring in it. That is completely made by bees. It is closed with beeswax on the top. That's the white that you see. And over each individual cell, and each cell on both sides contains honey. So this is provided to humans for consumption as cut comb honey. The frame that is being held up could have a foundation placed in it or wires placed on it. So the foundation could be plastic or beeswax that the bees could build on. And if it has foundation in it, it's put into what is called an extractor, which through centrifugal force will cause the honey to come out. We cut off the beautiful beeswax cappings on the top of the honeycomb cell, and we spin it so quickly that the honey comes out.
I see. Now, this is beautiful honey that you have here. Tell us the difference among the colors that we're looking at as far as the source of this honey.
Okay, the source of this honey here is literally from bee colonies in a single apiary. An apiary is where you keep your hives. Those were the 5 colors that were extracted that year. So, and I love this shot. Each color is representative of different nectar sources. So we know that the one on the far right has a reddish hue to it. It is tulip popular for the most part. We know the one to the far left is very clear, light yellow. That is probably black locust, which is the majority of the honey crop in the state of Maryland. And the ones in between are mixtures along with the other types of nectar sources, such as American holly, such as flowers, vegetable gardens, blueberry bushes. We have blackberry bushes surrounding our hives because blackberry honey is absolutely delicious, but it's just all the different sources. So the only difference between colors of honey are the nectar sources if you're dealing with real honey from a real beekeeper.
That's fantastic. Now
it's
we're going to have to
some
go
people
out.
think
We're going to have to go out on this because we're running out of time. So I'm going to leave this image up. Why is it so important that we protect the bees and allow them to provide honey to humans, but also the pollination? And you've got about 20 seconds to do that.
Bees are an important part of the environment. They pollinate plants that other animals don't. And we need that diversity of plant life on our planet. So we need to protect the bees. They're the canaries of the environment for us.
Thank you very much for being with us as we create the Emerald Planet.